Will tariffs affect my Starbucks price? Donald Trump wears a wig. Why is banana coin down? And much, much more. Let's go. Yeehaw.
Hola! It's your boy Big Rob back in the house. Welcome to Sin City Crypto, home of the entertainment focused and price prediction. Well, predictions are in the dumpster fire right now, but we take old, boring, and stale information and repackage it up in a fun and sexy way. We put out fires here at Sin City Crypto as well. Man, oh man, what a big day we got today. You know what? We had the tariff announcement yesterday. Stock market absolutely plunged this morning, and there's fears of being in recession. Well, crypto's not doing well. Bitcoin's down to almost 80,000. And then Ethereum, believe it or not, is down as well. My God.
Banana coin is down 15.7%.
Do you own any banana coin?
I do.
Okay.
I do.
What's up, Ashley?
Hi.
What happened to David?
I locked him in the basement this time. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for filling David's chair.
You're welcome.
All right. So, there's a lot going on in Bitcoin and in altcoins. We got a lot to unpack. We got some avalanche news or insight. And then also we're going to kind of unpack the tariff situation. What's that mean for crypto? Price of Bitcoin. Where are we at in the bull market? Are we even in a bull market anymore? And then lastly, but most importantly, we also got Magic Internet Money joining us here in about 15 minutes. So we'll be happy to have him on deck as well. And then if you are new, say something. We'll be glad to give you a little shout out, a little recognition. But let's jump right into the charts. Bitcoin is down currently to $81,694. So, which is very interesting because yesterday at the press conference, we saw Bitcoin get as high as 88,000. Here on CoinMarketCap, it says 87. But we did see briefly Bitcoin get up to 88,000 and abruptly sell off. And this is no surprise. I think we were calling that here at Sin City Crypto. At least I was. I was like, hey, you know what? Every time we get a rally prior to some big news event, usually pulls back and, well, you get a massive correction. And, well, that's exactly what we got. So we saw Bitcoin get to 88 and currently at 81. It did not take very long for it to drop down to 82,000. So from a span of about 3 hours. So it took about 3 hours for us to lose almost 10% on Bitcoin's price, which has led us to our current spot. But you zoom out, it's not quite as doom and gloom. Look at the 1 month. You can see that we've been trading in between 80 and 90,000 for the course of about 3 weeks. And so now we're just kind of at the lower bound of this 80,000. But we did get that week low, that 1 day low at 77,000 briefly, which I still believe will hold as strong support. I do think that we do get a bounce back or a relief rally out of the stock market. People are just freaking out a little bit. And so is it just for the markets to sell off? Are we going to go into a recession? I mean, that's debatable. I still think that we're in a bull market, just going to have a little bit more of a setback with these tariffs. But let's take a quick glance, and then we'll dive deeper into the altcoin markets here briefly. But I just wanted to give you a quick oversight. Nothing is up today on the 24 hours. You do have a stable coin here at the top. You got DEXE and then Mantra, but I mean, realistically, everything is down. So if you take a look at what's down the most in the 24 hours, you got Hyperliquid down 17%, down 20% on the day. Pi, Bearchain, Athena, But more importantly, I want to take a look at what's down the most on the week. You can see here that Jupiter down 32%. There is a host of different altcoins, all down over 20%. The list is long and strong. So it's not a fun day in the portfolio land today, right? I will say that I think the tariff news is short term, so be fine. But let's get into some articles here. So a couple things to take a look at. Well, Bitcoin plunges 6% as tariffs spark a $500 million liquidation. So this liquidation was over the span of about 5 hours. And so it had about $500 million liquidated. A lot of it was shorts, surprisingly. And we saw that run up to 88,000. I think people were trying to put in the shorts, didn't time it right, too much leverage, got liquidated. And well, you also have let's see here. Okay, so let's take a peek at the stock market. So we have the NASDAQ, which the NASDAQ 100 declines officially 1,000 points on the day, now 2% away from entering into a bear market. So 5% from the top is essentially, or no, the 20% from the top is officially a bear market. And so we're getting that much closer. And so I wanted to pull up the NASDAQ here. Earlier today, I saw it down at this when I first came into the studio. I saw the NASDAQ down 5.3%, a little bit of volatility. Where is the markets going? That I'm not sure. I'm not sure in the short term. I think we'll be fine. I don't think we're going into a recession, my personal opinion, but this is pretty bloody across the board. You got S&P 500 down almost 4%. You have the Dow Jones down 3%, but the NASDAQ is the one that's really getting crushed. We know NASDAQ has the strongest correlation when it comes to the crypto prices, and especially in the last 12 months, we've seen a movement out of the NASDAQ. We've seen correlation with Bitcoin. A lot of it has to do with similar style investing, more tech, more high risk, same ideology you get investing in Bitcoin and in crypto. The same idea, same premise here, shared along investor sentiment for the NASDAQ. So, man, all right, let's get into what does this mean? Well, Polymarket. If you guys remember Polymarket, they're the futures-based market that was putting in all of the bets, or at least the probabilities for the last election, growing in popularity. Anyways, Polymarket is coming out and saying that what is the chances of a recession in 2025? Well, the recession peaked and briefly went over 50% chance of a recession. And Polymarket has been pretty spot on when it comes to its odds. It currently is not at 50%. So I'm curious to see where this will be in a week or two. But I don't know.
You don't think this is a great opportunity? You don't see that? I don't know. Perhaps
as a buying opportunity
for everything.
Oh,
if you have the money, let me see if I can. If you do have the money to use leverage and trade every day with leverage, you should have some money aside for these moments right here, because fundamentally nothing changed.
Nobody really makes money. Nobody makes money during a bull market run, right? And when I say make money, you're not picking up investments and then finding the next project and doing X, Y, and Z. You're not doing that in a bull market. And if you, as far as like acquiring assets, but for the assets, you need to buy those in the bear market or at least in big pullbacks. And so, it's no different than anything else you would buy and sell, right? Let's just say you're buying and selling houses, right? And you want to flip houses. The best time to buy a house is when the housing market price goes down, right? You don't want to buy at the top of the housing market price and top of the housing market peak, because then at that point it's going to be very difficult for you to turn a profit. So you want to wait till the housing prices drop down, and then same thing for any collectibles. And so if you're trying to find a rare item, if you're trying to find PS4s.
So you don't think this is a discount moment? If you want to buy, let's say, a
100%.
new house or whatever, or if you want to just add another house to your,
Well, you get into this weird kind of limbo right now where, at least for things in the market, certain items are going to become more expensive.
Mhm.
And so right now it's going to be a very basket oriented market, right? Things that are in the U.S. that are not reliant on foreign items, right? Because even if it's built in America, right? Let's just say a car is built in America. Let's say the General Motors or Toyota, whatever it is built in America, but the steel comes from Canada and the computer chips come from Taiwan and the tires are coming from Brazil and the upholstery is coming from Mexico. Like, even if it is made in the US, it's still going to go up significantly in price. And then even worse is if you got to import products from the US to build your car overseas to sell it here, right? I mean, I know that sounds kind of like back and forth, but that happens, right? So a Toyota might bring in certain items to build their Toyotas overseas and then import it here, which now you're getting double tariff.
Yeah, I remember during the pandemic when the used car were worth more than the new car because they couldn't buy any.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think housing prices actually will come down, which is going to be interesting because, steel, lumber, and all the necessary ingredients to build a home, those are probably going to go up, I'm assuming, or at least steel and electrical wire and things like that. Windows, I think windows a lot of the time are built overseas as well. But anyways, I would be you got to really keep an eye on the markets here, because if you're trying to make money, there's going to still be winners, but you just got to figure out which ones to go with. And then lastly, I will say that when there's volatility, you can always make money trading. And so even if you're down on your portfolio, if you're trading, these are the moments. I mean, I knew, and I was here discussing this. I'm like, the price is going to drop tomorrow. Like, we're going to see a big drop in crypto. We're going to see a drop in Bitcoin. I was sure of it. And here we are. And so me personally, I put in trades. I made money. Like, so, there's money to be made, even in a downturn. And then also, as mentioned, this is a great time for buying. So days like today, I go through the price, market cap list. I see what is the most undervalued, and I start buying. Right now, you don't want to buy crypto when prices are sky high and you're near all time highs. And the problem is you get caught up in euphoria and FOMO, and you're really not sure what price is. You're not sure when you're at the top until you're in hindsight.
Let's say you're DCAing right now. This is not probably a double DCA. I mean, if you're already DCA, you are in a 10, 20 years accumulating.
Yeah, I mean,
if you want to buy Bitcoin, today will be a Bitcoin or whatever preferred project that you have in mind for the next 10 years. Today is one of those days where you can double down in your DCA, I will say.
Yeah, I mean,
the stock is down 30% in the 7 days.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, you save it 30%. You have a discount rate. I look at that as a discount.
100%. Also, what I tend to do is I like to look at I weigh two different things here. If I know that we're in an upswing, higher risk is my play, right? If I know that we're gonna go and get to 120,000, I'll be honest with you, I don't know what direction Bitcoin's gonna go say the next 3-4 months. We could go into a long-term sell-off, right? We could go into, what we saw back in last bull market was Bitcoin made an all-time high, which Bitcoin's already made an all-time high, pulled all the way back, people thought the market was over, and then lo and behold, we made a new all-time high again. We had a double top. And so I've said it multiple times here in my thesis for this market is that we're going to have, quote unquote, 3, 4, 5 different tops, because I don't think that people are going to sell off Bitcoin. There's not going to be forced liquidation. I don't think Bitcoin's price is going to drop off down to back to the 20,000s or 30,000, 40,000. That's not going to happen. And so Bitcoin's price is going to sell off. People are going to take advantage of the lower prices, get back in, push the market back up. I think that's what we have here, but I don't know how long it's going to last. And so for myself personally, if it lasts 6 months, I don't want to take anything high risk. I don't want to go down the list here and pick up any altcoins that are like, I'm not buying helium. I'm not buying GALA. I'm not buying Sandbox. Basically anything that is very, very high risk and where you have to hope everything kind of plays out right. I'm not touching it. And so for myself, that's the way I look at it. But for me, I like to take a peek is undervalued, strong altcoin plays. That is the bread and butter right now. Because sure, you might be able to pick up XRP at $2, or you might be able to pick up like Solana right now is probably the steal of the century. Picking up Solana at $115, I think is a steal of the century. And I think that grabbing this now, even if, as I mentioned, you go 6 months of downward price action or consolidation, or, say the S&P 500 keeps shedding off and we keep going into a quote unquote kind of bear market, I would feel comfortable holding Solana long term. And so even if I buy now, Solana draws down to $90, $80, like we know it's going to bounce back. You just got to wait for the next rally. And I know the Bitcoin top is not in, not if the US is buying and China's also trying to get their position. And Michael Saylor keeps buying more Bitcoin. The top is not in, not by a mile. Now, you can always have black swan events. You never know. But from my perspective, my experience in this market and the time after having, it's just not in. And I think that the markets are just kind of spooked with the tariffs. And the fact that the S&P 500 is down 4%, NASDAQ down over 5%, and we haven't even went down and touched the 77,000 that we were at a couple weeks ago, shows me that there's so much support in Bitcoin. And even in these moments, the crypto market's not even spooked. And so, yeah, the strong altcoins is where I'm going to go. All right. I think we got Magic ready. We ready to go, Magic?
Sir, how are you?
I'm doing good, brother. Welcome. Good to have you.
Oh, you got a different co-host today.
Yeah, we got Ashley at the desk.
Yes.
No infighting today.
We might fight today. Are we gonna fight?
I'm down.
Yeah,
So plenty of fight if you need it.
yeah. Don't worry, we got the verses.
We arranged it too.
How you doing
That's
today,
right.
brother?
I'm doing good, man. Doing good. Just looking over the charts a little bit.
I got a question. Do you get excited when you get days like this, or do you kind of put your face in your hands, and you're like, ah? Because I have no issue with these pullbacks. I mean, maybe it's just because I've been through them so many times. But what's kind of your take on these big market pullbacks?
They don't really affect me much anymore. They used to, but now it's kind of just, for me, it was more of an expectation. I've been kind of, saying, beating the drum a little bit about, hey, this is a little bit toppy. Doesn't mean market cycle top, but it definitely does kind of start to imply like a pretty medium to long-term top potentially. So it's not really surprising to me. I have not been adding too much exposure up here, so it doesn't really affect me emotionally too much.
Yeah,
I am a long-term Bitcoin holder, though. I have a lot of it. So if I don't get a hedge, like let's say it was the top, then I might be a little upset. But
yeah.
that's for down the road. So
Yeah, I think that institutions and nations and large companies, hedge funds. There's a lot of smart people out here with a lot of money that will come in and buy Bitcoin at value, right? At when price
yeah,
drops. And so I just find it hard to believe that the bull market is over, because I just think that, you know what, every time you get one of these drops, somebody's going to come in and buy, which is a little different. In the past, we've had retail, where investors, they would get spooked. There'd be too many headlines, or the market would kind of turn. They just stop buying, right? And even
yeah,
if you saw the price go down. So I think it's a little different now. And I know every bull market cycle you hear that, oh, this time's different. I mean, the thing is 2017 was fundamentally different than 2021. Same thing with 2013. So I think
very true.
people want to assume that it's going to happen. The funny thing is that people always assume, like, you know what, post halving, all my altcoins, my whole portfolio is going to go up. And I think that at some point you just got to wait. You got to wait to bleed all those people out until they give up, and then that's when it's going to rally. Just human sentiment. If you didn't catch it yesterday, we had the Liberation Day by Donald Trump, and so it went from Inauguration Day to Liberation Day, and how's that shaped up? Well, not too well. So let's take a look. You got S&P 500 index on Inauguration Day. And so my boy Trump, you going the wrong direction here, brother. Also, well, this one never gets old here.
Win so much, you may even get tired of winning, and you'll say, please, please, it's too much winning.
Too much
we can't
winning.
take it anymore.
I can't take
Mr.
it anymore,
President,
Rob.
It's too much. And I'll say, no, it isn't. We have to keep winning. We have to win more.
No more winning, please.
And then, we'll get into the markets here in just a quick second. But Trump's tariff bombshell shakes crypto, traditional markets. We kind of opened up with this. The index funds are down pretty bad. But this is all off of these reciprocal tariffs. And so if you haven't had a chance to take a look at this, you have tariffs, and then they just kind of get ranked by the largest countries by GDP. And here at the top, you got 34% tariffs. That on the right side, the yellow is what we are going to be charging in addition to the price, the normal price of goods coming into the country. 34% from China, 20% for all European nations. That one kind of stings myself personally. I have a lot of European products, Mercedes. I love my vodka, and a lot of other items, and then a lot of manufacturing goods coming out of India and also Southeast Asia as well. But this list it's actually 50%. Surprisingly, we heard that we were going to have tit for tat tariffs, and that the tariffs are going to be, hey, you put 50% tariffs on us, we're going to do the same. I will say, though, that this number is adjusted by currency manipulation and trade barriers. So these headline numbers that you see here on the left side are a culmination of figures, right? If you were to say, hey, there's an additional tax for foreign poultry that, for poultry that comes into our nation, we need to do X, Y, and Z test, whatever it is. So a lot of these things are like hidden fees for imports. And so that's accounted for. And then you have the reciprocal tariffs. But, you had also, this was an interesting, if you went down the list. So this list here, there's lots of countries here. But if you notice here on the last page, there is an island here called Harold and McDonald Islands here at the bottom. Interestingly enough, this set of islands, or these islands, has a population of 0 and is inhabited only by penguins. So Harold Island has been hit with 10% tariffs.
Them penguins.
So here we have, the Donald Trump and the executive branch. But guys, you can't even trade with your country. Shut the F up, Penguin. Did you even say thank you? We're tired of you taking advantage of our American patriots. Thank you. And then lastly, you have some other reciprocal tariffs as well. It caught headlines. You got Narnia, 54% tariff on Mars, Middle Earth. Hogwarts has got 33%. Jupiter at 10%. So actually, and Wakanda. 22%.
Rob, one thing is in a serious note.
That's pretty good.
I was watching last night an Italian channel that was talking about the tariffs. One of the things, for instance, when you go to Italy, when you buy something, you have a 20% added to the total of your check. That's the a tax. And I think it's what they did. Yeah, is it like a sell tax that we use, for our, for everything?
I think they call consumption taxes.
Some they call it VAT. We is like for us is a value. I don't know how to even translate. It's a added value to whatever it is when you buy something. So I think some of these tariffs they reflect already that 20% that we added on top of it when you go to buy something. I guess in Italy, I'll guess it is the same in France and Germany and everything else. So perhaps it is not the net number of the tariff. So
and there's going to also be companies that are going to be competitive, and so they might not pass the 25% straight on to the consumer. And at the end of the day, like, how can you justify keeping a price when margins are so low? And so it's going to affect the price of goods. Like, it's just the reality of it. Especially if your competitors are all raising the price by 25%. If you don't, you're so underpriced that it's just an imbalance. And sometimes having things too, I know when I go to the store, I usually don't buy the cheapest item. If there's something I don't know, like I'm buying let's say I'm buying electronics for some reason, right? And I see electronic for $5 and then 3 of them for $25. I'm like, why is that one $5? Like, I don't know. I'm not buying it. I can't trust it. This is for my show. I can't have it mess up. So I'll buy usually a reason things are up, they're priced the way they are. But, inflation is coming. And, interestingly enough, they have one of my favorite games here, which I don't know how tariffs hit this one, but Mario Kart World, which is coming out for the new Wii system, is priced at $80 MSRP, which is up from $60. They added a whole $20 here, which is, I'm doing the math. It's about 25%. They raised the price of Mario Kart World. Newsflash, downloads from Japan are not getting tariffed here. What's going on with Nintendo? That's what I want to know.
The Mario Kart gas went up.
Which, by the way, what a fun game. I can't wait for this one to come out. But I wanted to send it over to you, Magic, to take a peek at the price,
Sure.
kind of the markets. I guess we'll start with Bitcoin and then kind of move down from there. But and also, I don't know if you ever take too much of a look into like the index funds, like the S&P 500 or the Nasdaq, but I know that
I track SPX, and we covered it a couple weeks ago. And we can circle back where I said I don't think the low is in for it, and that we would expect probably another 5% from a couple weeks ago.
Okay,
we've seen 3% of that, so potentially we'll see more. But I'm opening up on this chart because I say it every week. We build off of what we did last week. So if you guys aren't rewatching their episodes, you should, especially if you're interested in TA, because I do try to build off of what we're doing. This right here is a pivot zone. Again, high time frame, we're above it. That's good. Need to remain above this because in no bull market post-halving have we given this zone up, these two high time frame averages, and remained in a bull market. So you can see this is the 2020 halving when you finally lost it here. Kind of your confirmation that, the high was in. Same within 2017 and 18 was here. And then if you went all the way back to even like 16 and 2012, you can see that there's your halving. You're above it the entire time. When you finally give it up post 2012 halving right here, it doesn't mark the exact top, but it gets you out in time to not, endure the big drop off. So that's just to kind of preface where we're at. The issue I'm having is this is a little unusual in comparison to other markets in that you can see that usually there's a pretty large disconnect between the top of price at 20K and where this zone is here at like 11. Okay, so in this instance, we hit about 109, and we're at 80 to 83. Here was 69,000, and this is about 48. So it's coming down to support, and it really does need to hold this zone, because if this flips, that triggers many different things for me. That this market is turning around on the high time frames, and that maybe the top did come a little bit early this cycle. And it's always a possibility. So in regards to that, we've talked about the averages on the more local time frames. They're still pretty high time frame, like a 30-day or a 60-day time frame. They are in orange here. So you can see I've just marked out the 30 days in orange, and I've got a few time periods selected. And the main reason being is, these are just pivots. You can get them through your indicators tab. You can literally go to pivot point standard right here, and you can get the exact same one I'm using. I prefer to use the Fibonacci base, and I use a 3-point average. So that's all you have to do in the settings is change it. So we're going to turn on the 60-day. And the 60-day on this one is important because it's a 2-month cycle, but it's just long enough to give us a good amount of information. You notice these white lines are trending up, and that's a good thing. That means every 60 days, the average of price is increasing, meaning that you're in a pretty strong trend. Where you see these orange lines is they're now generating below the 60-day. Normally, in a healthy market, these are generating above, as you can see here. So they would generate above the 60-day. So you want to see these averages on top of each other, just like a moving average. But they're horizontals, so they're based on closures. This indicates the first time that you close and open below that 60-day pivot. Not marking the exact top, but pretty close. And if you recall where our pivot zone was, it was about in this region as well. So you can see that's kind of your first major sign that the trend has changed. You are now generating averages on a shorter time frame below higher time frames because they haven't caught up. So you're looking at a pretty substantial downtrend, and when that happens, it'll actually mark the bottom as well. Oftentimes at the bottom, you'll see right here, this one generated at an equal spot because the 30-day and 60-day do overlap. So if the function of a high and a low and a close are overlapping, the 30-day and 60-day will actually be the same. Same with like quarterlies and monthlies. It happens all the time. But you can see the second one generated above, letting you know right around $4,000 that you are looking to cut shorts or start getting exposure into longs. And the same thing could be said when you came up here at 14K. So these mark pretty much every major swing. Only one time has it really failed, and we'll go through that. But right here, you can see at 14K, you started generating below your 60-day average, and that led to you never really reclaiming it and having the Rona dump. And ironically, what you can do is you can say, how will I know if these are still good? You could just very easily come over and say, okay, needs to get above this last 60-day average that started the downtrend. And it was pretty much our resistance up until it broke. Now, after the Corona dump, you can see that you had a trend change again. Here is your 60-day in white. Here are your 30-day averages. So they are now generating above, kind of indicating to you that, okay, over the last 60 days and 30-day averages, everything's pointing to I should be looking upwards. And the cycle, obviously was very good. When we get into more modern price time, this is the only time right here where it did kind of fail. You can see that at the very bottom of the drop in 2021, in that summer lull, you generated your monthlies below for the first time, and then it rallied. Now, even if you were, still looking at this as going lower, you would have changed your mind quickly, noting that the 60 days were now trending up into the next 60 days, letting you know that you probably should get at least some exposure to this rally. And then that changed again right here post top, where it gave you the 30 days below the 60, letting you know that you should be shorting between 40 and 50K, or at least cutting your exposure. And that actually lasted all the way till the low, believe it or not. You generated below here, you generated your first open above it, and then you generate a higher 60-day average, letting you know that for the foreseeable future, this was going to continue in an uptrend. And this is the first time since then that we've seen two 30-day averages generate below its 60-day. So these are fairly high time frame things that, when we look at it, it's only one thing to look at, but they're pretty reliable because of the high time frame. So if we're going to see this market continue in a bull run, I do think April has to be a positive month. Going to the live chart, just to kind of cover that. If this is going to be a positive month, April needs to, one, hold our zone of support, the PP zone, as we've called it, which is the 6-month and yearly average zone that post-halving we always hold no matter what. Oh, we're on the EDU. We're on the wrong one, which we just looked at there. So if we can hold that, great. That puts us right here at the box that we're at. We're at support. So we need to remain here to keep this to kind of from becoming a trend. What would save the market is if price, one, grinds out this area and doesn't break down, even if it wicks below these lows into the overall 382, which could very well happen. That's your first golden, ratio in terms of a Fibonacci number. Be like right here, we get at a log at 73K. If that happened, you'd want to see a pretty quick recovery, especially of this box. And that might be a very good opportunity, if that occurs. But if it doesn't occur in that fashion and we start seeing a breakdown, you're probably going to see a trend, and that trend is going to be a reversal of these high time frame averages, which means that price is also trending down. And I will tell you that in every single instance of giving up this, gray box here, the 6-month and yearly zone that we identified right at the beginning of, my little spiel here, anytime you've lost that, you've gone to the overall gold pocket. I call it the PP to GP, which is your pivot squared zone to the gold pocket. And that gold pocket comes all the way down at like 48 to 50K. So giving up 80K on like a more formal basis, like weekly and monthly basis, is pretty detrimental, especially knowing that we're now shifting around our monthly average trend. It's not a healthy look if that happens. So again, what would save price is having a 2021-esque summer market where it just fails to break down, even though we've generated these signs of weakness. Price then invalidates it. And so we would need to see it coming and really bringing the averages back up. In this case, your future pivot here, which is your 60-day, is set to generate all the way down here closer to like 84 from the last one at 90, confirming that this one will now be in a downtrend. So, there's some signs here that would say that if price can't put in a pretty sizable rally back above between 89 and 90K, that you're probably going to see this start to break down sideways and down over time, much like other bear markets. So, not a popular opinion, but that's just what the chart is saying, and some of the information is saying right now. So for me, this was a really large zone to be at to begin with. We've, going back to some of these high time frame charts that we built and have covered on this show quite a bit, actually. This was the area that I had built out for if there was going to be an all-time high, and I used the same style of projection that I used in 2021 to project this as the zone for all-time high. Didn't fill all of this out, obviously, because it goes up to like 73,000. But it was pretty accurate. It's pretty good. Very similar in size. This one's 22% for our current one. This one was 19. So a wide zone, but we're not perfect. But this was one of those things where we said if there was going to be an early top, this was our box right here for the time, and that this would be the area on the chart to really be paying attention to, and it could be an issue. That was post breaking 73,000. So
yeah,
a lot of things lining up.
What do you take away from the $77,000 range? That where we briefly came down. I don't know. I kind of look at that and I see the market's down on with the NASDAQ correlation, which I've been keeping a close eye, and is that
Sure.
the market's down as much as they are, down more than they've been since I think last summer, and so overall
I would
markets are
equate
down.
it to uncertainty.
Yeah, I'm just surprised that Bitcoin's holding very strong over 80K. It has not dipped in the last 48
Yeah.
hours under 80,000. So I don't know. I just think that 77, like if I was going to put in a long position, which I don't feel like the market's going to reverse right now, but if I felt like the market was going to reverse, I'd feel pretty comfortable if we were in this this price area, like putting in a long position, hiding liquidation below 77 to say like 75 or 74,000, something like that. And then riding out a long from there, when I feel like the market's going to reverse. Is that number mean a lot to you? I mean, I know that's our local bottom, but
Doesn't at the moment. I'm actually looking for this low to eventually be taken. It's just not a low that I'm not confident in when you go through and look at like the OI and everything else going on in the order flow, plus the context of how it occurred. off of a gap fill where it was like perfect and everyone caught the low because it was a gap fill, right? Typically, market's going to come back and get those guys. It's never that simple. So for me, knowing that we did not backtest structure formally here, and that it was kind of a quick low, but not like so quick like this right here. This is a really good example of a low that was excellent, where it was instantaneous. You kind of backtested it, but just kind of kept going. You don't really have that same reaction here. And in fact, you have lower highs throughout. So you've seen no signs of strength or anything to make me believe that we're going to not come down and maybe test below this low and take some stops. So for me, the long I'm waiting for was here, which I took. I did post on my Twitter when I took profits. I put in that, hey, I'm taking profits around 90. I think it was 92.1. And then I've been stopped out of that position. That was the only buy that I've put in there. I have picked up some spot, but spot to me, I treat a little differently because I do hold Bitcoin long term, even through bear markets. It's why I say I look for hedges, because I try to just mitigate against the drawdown of holding the asset. In this case, I think that we have a good chance at an SFP below the low. And if we get that, I'm definitely willing to trade it. I'm just not willing to put on any additional risk here, even though we're at such a big support zone. These pivots are big. I would need to see a setup. I did the same thing in the last range, if you recall, and I didn't get long until about 59 right here. I waited. I got a setup that I wanted, working off of deviations, and I got a nice retest, and I held that all the way up until these highs, actually. I am out of that position. My last take profit on it was like 105 or something. So, yeah, I mean, I'm really kind of playing the waiting game here because this is an unusual cycle, in my opinion. Just the speed of everything's been very quick. But now some of these higher time frames are starting to print things that are making me a little concerned. So I would rather, be a little late, I guess, in this case, than early, because I think that would give me a little more security and direction. So if it gives me a good setup, of course, I'm going to take it, which I'd love to get a swing fail of the lows here, somewhere between here and 73. And if that occurs, that's a good trade. But you definitely have to see that recovery happening after that trade, or if it fails. Like I said, every single time that we've lost this zone post-halving, it goes to the gold pocket. There are pit stops along the way. 67K is a big one. Things like that. But at that point, we start pointing to, is the market cycle over? And to your point, traditional markets with the SPX, I think that. Yeah, this was the zone I was looking for all the way back in 2022. This was based off of this pattern reversal. These are just fib extensions and expansions for, basically targets. And this was the big one. I posted about it when we came in contact with it back in November, and I followed up a few times on Twitter. But really big area. So for me, watching this, saying I think it was back here on the weekly where you guys asked if I thought the low was in on NASDAQ and SPX, and I said no. And we're now seeing this here, and I was expecting about another 5 to 7%. But there's been some pretty big sell signals that have triggered on traditional markets as well. And who was it? It's like a Dow theory sell signal, and I don't want to speak out of turn, but I want to say it gives you a probability of almost 60% that you could enter a recession. So better chances than not. And given the current impact of this administration being very gung-ho and providing a lot of change immediately, markets are not receiving that well. And that's realistically it. I don't think necessarily the tariffs themselves are causing anything. It's just the uncertainty. That is why I think it was it the House or the Senate tried to get something passed to prevent him from being able to put on tariffs anymore, to limit presidential power. Because, markets don't like that type of thing. If they don't know what's going to happen, they're going to pull their money, plain and simple. And if they're also not getting quantitative easing right now, this type of action eventually will force it, of course. So, that's to me, that's the hopium, I guess, is if we get a new high at the end of the year, like we normally do in a cycle, it's either A, going to come off the back of a long range here, or B, I do think you could see something very similar to here, where we saw a very quick crash before another rise, right? It was just a very fast flash crash, kind of like a mini bear market. And then you got your big blow off. But I don't think that's the most probable. It's just something that could happen. So you always got to be prepared. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of how I see things. And I'm not trying to be the doom and gloom guy. I feel like I have been for a few weeks, but it's just one of those things where I'm just trying to be objective about what's going on.
At the end of the day, like when the markets reverse and you're, obviously in a downtrend, I think the most important information is to figure out, like, where's the realistic drawdown opportunities, right? Or how far do you think this is going to drop, or what's a great entry point? And so if you only want to pay attention to the charts when it's going up, I mean, that's half the battle, right? You're trying to figure out when to take profits, when to sell, what's overpriced, that's half the battle, right? You buy, you sell. And so theoretically you should be buying when it's low. You need to pay attention to the markets when they pull down. At the same time, you're doing the same on the way up.
You are 100% correct.
Yeah, I did want to ask you to take maybe a peek at Solana, but while you pull that up, I'll give you a moment. I'm going to send it over to Ashley to see who we got up in the chat. We got any new people? I see you over here chit-chatting away, talking about Prada purses and God knows what else.
May I ask how much is my Prada purse going to go up?
Oh, that is Italian leather, right?
Rocco.
Isn't
Prada
Prada
purses,
Italian?
Yeah, Prada is Italian. I mean, it's a
Yeah,
big group.
so that's
How
a
much
20% up. So what's the typical Prada purse cost?
Doesn't matter, they're
They're
usually
like
$5,000, $10,000
25.
bags, so you can just pay a little more.
Hold on. The Prada purse is 3,000?
25.
20. Jeez.
It can be more. It can be there are some.
Depends on the purse, I
Yeah.
think.
Oh, okay.
It can be 3,000,
$3,000 bag is now going to be
20,000.
yeah, but probably like 4,500. Yeah.
No, in a $10,000 one, you pay 1,200. I mean, 12,000.
If y'all would like to donate to the Prada Fund, go ahead. Anyways, new people, we have Arsoul, Mr. K, Mr. Biggs, J Bones, and Lasers. And then Toby Boy wants you to talk about OnlyFans bidding to buy TikTok.
Oh, that actually a thing?
I don't know.
Is that
Also,
really a
yeehaw.
Oh, that's funny.
All right. So,
Well, I don't know much about OnlyFans, but yeah, maybe they do. I hope they don't. I think isn't TikTok pretty much just OnlyFans anyway at this point, just girls dancing and promoting their links.
Hey,
I don't know.
hey,
Pretty
they
much
got
is.
clothes on.
They got close.
we were streaming on YouTube, Twitter, also Twitch, Rumble, and soon to be OnlyFans as well. So there you go.
Oh,
Oh, all right, sweet.
Sweet. Good to know.
Solana, we've actually held these targets for quite a while. So shout out to, I wrote his name here in my object tree because he's the one who pointed out this pattern all the way back over here. Clean Stev, I got it, Clean Stev Shark. So hopefully I'm saying your name right because I know some of you guys are from Europe and I butcher them all the time. But looking for this box here, we've been patiently waiting. The time adjustment for this was made for sometime between March and May, looking for this to come in and potentially make a low. So yeah, it's just been a waiting game on Solana. This box, I guess I should give the coordinates are between 85, 28, and 110. So that was kind of the buy zone we've been looking for. And it front ran it really hard right here at the 1-to-1 in time. And I'll get rid of the timing so you guys can see how close it was. So we were like, damn, maybe we missed it. Maybe the TA is not working. And I was like, well, let's just wait and see if there's any strength that enters the market. Because if not, then there's really no point in jumping the gun. So it does look like we made the right decision in waiting. So I'm looking for a little bit lower on Solana, but it is coming into a big area. So that's not a bad look. What does become a bad look with this is if it fails at that pattern completion zone. You can see that I've got several things marked out here. I've got a weekly, a monthly, and a quarterly SFP. So I marked these out where prices have not closed below them on their respective time frames. So in this case, it's like a monthly. We've not closed a monthly candle below here in a long time. In this case, it's a 3 month. So if we go out to the quarterly chart, you can see that the 3 month chart has been holding these as support pretty routinely. Now we're fresh into this quarter, so we've got 2+ months left, obviously almost a full 90 days even. So yeah, if it came down to here and then recovered these levels, that to me would look good for a potential long. So I'd be interested in trading it at that time. Now, the bad is that if you lose this area, specifically, below these lows, right around that 110 to 85 zone, that support zone we're talking about, this shit's coming way down. Minimum probably coming all the way back down, like sub 70. Pretty confident on that. that not a good look for Solana, and it would be the Christmas tree 2.0 at that point. But the other thing I'll point out is Solana's got a really interesting global range, is what I refer to it as, where you include all price action, so multi-years, and its volume profile can be useful at times, can also be, maybe a little bit convoluted and not as useful, just depends. But what you're looking at right now is a shelf. You are actually sitting on that one standard deviation value area high, indicating that, if we don't continue to hold this on a meaningful timescale, like a monthly or a 3-month in this case, at these levels that we just looked at, where we say these are SFP levels we haven't closed below, then you're finding acceptance back into this range. Do I think you're going to cycle to $3? Probably not. But you're definitely going to start filling in some of this stuff. At a minimum, you're looking around like 80, 70, and then, there's really nothing here. The first support's going to be right around like 45, $50. So to me, it's a dangerous game with altcoins when you get into DCAing, because in the past, the markets, they've done very well at this time period, specifically when Bitcoin dominance was topping out. We don't really see the same correlation right now with how alts are reacting with the Bitcoin cycle. Even Bitcoin itself is not reacting the same. So it makes sense. But these would be risky things for me that I would need to see the market turn around as a whole before I'd be willing to do more than just a trade on something like this. So it's coming into a zone I'm interested in trading, and we'll see what happens. But if it fails,
I feel very.
Are bad.
I feel very similar to kind of what you're saying here. Is that you might not feel comfortable because of price action, but I feel the same way about a lot of altcoins, right? But the one standout for me is that Solana seems to be the go-to network. More or less has replaced Ethereum as the go-to retail chain for crypto transactions, whether it's DeFi or NFTs or whatever it is. Solana seems to be the go-to network. So I think as long as the users are still using it and it still has has kind of the market share there on use case and utility, I just don't see it dropping much. But that same idea that you have where you don't feel comfortable getting into an altcoin at this stage of the market because of where further you can draw down further if Bitcoin doesn't come out of this 80,000 for quite some time, say 6 months, 8 months, I'd imagine all altcoins are going to get hammered, right? But no, Solana has went against the trend. It outperformed Bitcoin tremendously in the earlier stages of the bull market, or even in the latter stages of the bear market, wherever you want to label that as. But I think this is a big pullback because it had the early run. But I feel pretty confident in Solana. So for me, I look at this chart. I'm like, where's my buying opportunities? Because this is a project I want more exposure to, and I know that once the market starts to bounce back, this is something that I feel confident will lead the pack on altcoins. And I just don't feel the same way about other alts right now. But that's kind of where my thesis stands. I'd feel uncomfortable, I'm really strong on Cardano as an example. I think that'll bounce back. But you know what? I don't know what the next 6 to 8 months holds for Cardano, and I don't know how fast of a bounce back because it doesn't have the market share for utility currently. I do love the tech and its partnerships. But it's just Solana right now. I can't fade it, man. I think it's undervalued.
Just trade all your Solana for Ethereum right now.
Oh, absolutely.
No, I'm just one of those. I'm a little bit more conservative with where I park my money in crypto. I'm the notorious Bitcoin maxi. People know it.
Yeah.
So just keep that in mind when you guys hear me talk about alts. I try not to be personal with them, but is what it is.
I got a mix, man. I because I like to play around in DeFi, and I like having a million different wallets and swapping stuff. I don't know, man. I kind of have this. I see the allure of crypto, and outside of speculation on price, I do realize that, like, hey, you know what, you can tell me all about the chart on an iPhone, in the past, and I'm just like, hey, man, this is just a badass product. I don't see anything knocking it off the block. So for me, price dips, I'm buying more Apple stock, right? And that's kind of the way I look at it, at what is dominant now, whether it's Nvidia, Apple, Microsoft. I look at these crypto projects in a similar light. I'm like, what are people using, and what do I personally like, because I want exposure to that. And so I get a mix of the two, but I also blindly like a product that maybe not so many other people like, or whatever it is. Maybe I don't share the same sentiment as the masses. So it's nice to have someone like explain to you, like, hey man, there is a lot more downside to come, because I definitely have bought the top on projects I'm really excited about, or near top. Magic, I did want to I think we're actually going to wrap up the trading part here, but I wanted to get your thoughts here on interesting. I don't know if you ever watched the Muppets, but there's Sesame Street, the Muppets, but you do have hear me out on this one. Muppets Texas Chainsaw Massacre. What do you guys think?
I'm in instantly. That's an instant yes.
It's like best of both worlds, man.
It's kid friendly. I love it.
That looks terrifying.
Yeah.
No.
Good.
No.
We haven't had a good remake in a while. I say do it. Yeah.
And then my favorite project, just to wrap up with some Avalanche news. I know I'm talking about it, but Water and Avalanche partnered to bring $20 trillion in commodities to the blockchain. And so Avalanche is growing its RWA narrative. So Water and Avalanche are working together to do a layer 1 blockchain. And for that, I think it's going to be a subnet, one of their L1s that Avalanche launches. Either way, who is Water? It's a company that was founded by veterans that worked for Shell, BP, JP Morgan, and a list of other projects. So excited to see that. Also, we've had some interesting, I think it was Charter Bank came out and was saying that Avalanche should get to $50 by the end of the year, $250 by the next 5 years. So expecting some big performance out of that. And with that, that's going to wrap us out. You got anything else to say there, Ashley? What's going on?
No, I don't.
All right. Well, Magic, we'll send it off. Thanks for joining us. I appreciate you. And we'll see you next week.
Yeah, see you guys next week. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. All right. I did want to give one final shout out to today's sponsor, Legacy Academy Network, and their LGCT token, which went live about 6 months ago, which did just get a listing on Gate, on Gate.io. And so if you are looking to get exposure to the Gate token, or excuse me, the LGCT token, available on multiple exchanges now. And you know what? It's been performing pretty well. It's bucking the trend for the bear market. So we're always excited about that. Not to mention, pretty badass app. If you haven't downloaded that, link in the description. Well, that's going to do it for today. I want to maybe go down to the Mercedes dealership and take a peek at the cars before the prices go up.
Aren't they already up?
Not yet. Not yet.
You want to buy before it goes up, right? And then resell it.
Yeah,
so buy two.
Exactly.
They should buy two.
It's a good trade here. So
they should buy two cars. One you keep it, the other one resell it.
Because here's the thing: everything that's coming in through the ports right now is getting hit with 25%. So I know they haven't hit the lot yet. So if I go to the lot now, I probably got what? You think like
that is
7 days, maybe 14 at most.
That is probably a line. I forgot. There is probably a line for people buying. It should probably just go right now. Just go right now.
Right now.
All right, we're gonna go right now. All right, this tornado out of here.
Tornado.
Get to the
Let's
dealership.
Go. Dealership.
Right,
Ashley, you wanna say the David thing?
Yeah.
What does David say?
No sense.
He does some stupid tornado. I'm not doing the stupid tornado. Okay, then I don't know.
All right.
Peace.
Peace.
Crypto. Everybody know we here for entertainment and info. Gonna show you how to get that big dough. So every day stay tapped in for big facts, no capping. With Bitcoin, if you're in, then you win. We divide the pie with no fraction. It's Big Rob, David. I split the game, but they gave it. Name the coin that's your favorite. I got dry powder, why save it? To the OGs, new beginners. Special shout out to the well members. Buy a dip, sell winners. Ain't really nothing you can tell sinners. Tune in for the latest new flavors. They gonna teach us mean coins. They polarizing like barbecue chicken pizzas. I laugh with a major grin.